Also, if during the session you have any questions, please go ahead and ask them in the chat box. We'll have a Q&A session after the speakers have spoken. And also, if we will leave our contacts on the chat box. And also feel free to market yourself in the chat box. Whatever you do, market yourself in the chat box. Yes, let's make this an interactive session. I'd like to ask our CEO and founder, the CEO and founder of Bismart Insurance, Eunice Maina, to please take the floor.
Good evening, everyone. It's so great to see all of you this evening. Thank you for joining us. I would like to see who is in the room. Where are you joining us from? What do you do, as Paris is asking? This will be important for us to network in this session, because it's not just about, it's a sales conversation. And so, so long as you're in the world, you should be selling something. If you're not having a product, then you're either looking for a job or you want people to, just tell us what it is that you do that you would want us to buy from you today, and that will be good. Okay, I can see we have people from, the medical field. I can see we have other people from, balloon entertainment. This is Annette. So we have different people in the room, and this is good. So I would like to introduce the Bismart team, and I would like them to just say hi to and say what you do, and we can start with Lois.
Thank you, Eunice. My name is Alois Juma. I'm the corporate sales executive at Bismart. Feel free to ask questions, to interact with us, and looking forward to a more interactive session. Thank you.
Okay, let's have Wangui.
Hello, everyone. My name is Wangui Githu. I am your co-host for the evening. I am the PR specialist, PR and events specialist at Bismart Insurance Company. And I'm here and ready to interact with you guys. Feel free to ask anything that you might need clarification on.
Okay, thank you, Wangui. John?
Hello, everyone. My name is Joanne Mutisia. I'm the sales manager at Bismart. I'm looking forward to an interactive session.
Who else is there? Do we have Derek?
Yes, I'm right here. My name is Derek. My name is Derek Gadirimu. I'm the digital marketing executive at Bismart Insurance. I would like to welcome you. Feel free to chat with us, and welcome. Thank you.
Okay, who else is there? Do you have anyone else I'm forgetting? Godfrey? No? Okay, so that is a Bismart team. And now I would like to just share a little story about Bismart, where we've come from and why we do what we do. My name is Eunice Maina Mburu, the founder of Bismart and also the author of the book, Sell Me This Pen. This is a book that I've shared my experience as a insurance sales agent. I was selling life insurance for about 5 years. And I've shared, the challenges, the opportunities, and what people can do to sell more. And I also founded Bismart, which is an online insurance marketplace. So when we say marketplace, is basically where you come and shop, like the way you go to a supermarket and you choose the product that suits you. And so we looked at insurance, and we realized there was a lot of, opaqueness or lack of transparency that led to mistrust, such that I always say it's the industry where the customers do not, and the providers of the service do not trust. So it's a mutual mistrust that exists in the insurance industry, whereby the insurer feels that the customer is likely to defraud them, and the customer feels that the insurer is just taking their money. And so it's a very, I would say it's an industry that has a lot of friction. And so we asked ourselves, what can we do to reduce this friction? And that is how we came up with an online platform that is able to show, or rather to break down the information, what you guys call the fine print. So we break down the fine print into big print. Just give you for one company. We give you for multiple insurance companies so that you can compare and see what suits you, not just on price, but you are able to compare based on benefits, exclusions. Exclusions is what is not covered, what is covered, the waiting periods, the excess limits. You're able to compare those small, the so-called small print, and choose the right insurance for yourself. We believe that way we are able to go far. And from that, we've been able to get a lot of feedback from our customers, whereby then we have been able, or we are continuously designing products that are relevant to our customers, that our customers are asking on a daily basis. And one of the products that we've designed is called Afya Smart. It's Mchango health insurance. When we say Mchango, it's basically the way the insurance principle of insurable interest states that my insurable interest is to my spouse and my children. Beyond that, the insurance doesn't see that I have interest in, for example, my brother's child or my parents. So what we have done, we break some rules so that then we can be able to give the customers what they want. Sorry. So in this cover, Afya Smart, you can be able to take a cover for yourself. You can add a house help, your house help in that cover, or you can add your parents in that cover, or your brothers and sisters. And the whole extended family can share a policy, one single policy. And the other product we've designed is Elimu Smart, which is a school fees insurance protection. An education once a year, because it's a term life insurance. You only insure the school fees in case of death or disability, or in case of critical illness. This makes it, guarantees your children education in case, even if, or rather in the event those situations happen. So that's that is Be Smart for you. And over time, we have observed, just like every other business, that sales is what drives business. And so because I, as a founder, I'm very passionate about sales and selling, we realized that this is something we can offer, we can give back to our customers and enable them to sell more. So through that, this year, 2021, we launched an event called the Salesfest. Basically, Salesfest is how do we celebrate sales, and salespeople across all industries. So we're looking at, you'll find salespeople in an insurance, or rather, they come together and celebrate. But we've not seen an event that enables every sector of the society, whether it's medical, whether it's pharmaceuticals, FMCGs, banking, real estate, insurance, academia, all sectors coming together to celebrate their salespeople. So the the theme for 2021 was, starting the year fast and strong through sales. And the theme for 2022, which will be held on 7th of January, is enabling sales in the changing world, because it's been difficult. I know most of you are in business and it's been really difficult to sell. And the question is, how do we enable the salespeople to sell more? So this is an event for top executives, top entrepreneurs to be able to come together and have this conversation on how are you enabling sales? Say, for example, how are you enabling sales in the pharmaceutical industry? How, if you're from insurance, how are you enabling sales in the insurance? If it's bank, and then we enable cross-learning so that if we can borrow what FMCGs are doing, we borrow and adopt it at Bismarck, and we win. And FMCG or the pharmaceutical industry could borrow from what we do at the insurance, and this sharing of knowledge enables all of us to grow. So, so I would like to welcome all of you here today, and we have a wonderful speaker who is going to take us through about the challenges and the opportunities that we've had in 2021, and looking forward 2022, what we need to look at. So allow me with this to introduce, just a minute, to introduce our speaker today. Our speaker today has over 22 years experience in pharmaceutical industry, 11 of which he has worked in multinational corporations. Currently, he's the CEO of Pharma Division at Philips Therapeutics, and previously served as the country head in AstraZeneca. For those of you who are going for the vaccination, I'm sure the word AstraZeneca is very, it's in our mouth. Novo Nordisk and franchise head of novelties. He also runs a successful leadership training at the Philips Top 100 program. So join me this evening in welcoming Newton Ciele, our speaker for tonight, to be able to take us through from there. Thank you very much. Newton, karibu sana.
Thank you so much, Eunice, and thank you so much, the Bismarck team, for the invitation. Let me just share my screen. If you could give me a minute. Please do let me know that you can be able to see the screen.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, so I think I'd like to take this opportunity to be able to welcome everybody into this session. Mine really was just to give a perspective, and I think, as you've put it, Eunice, even though we are in the pharma industry, we do also are in sales, probably just in the business of selling medicine. So I think the topic that I've been tasked today was to look at the challenges and opportunities in terms of sales. And what I want to do is to sort of just break it into 4 perspectives. I'll just give a very quick one-liner, because all of us listened to the state of the economy. I think it was the State of the Nation address, actually, to be very specific, that was given by the president last month at the end of November. But I'd like to also break my talk into 2, which is just the challenges and in the B2B selling and B2C selling, and the opportunities that are also present within the same. And I'll talk about future proofing, and the reason why I've included that particular one slide was just to sort of remind ourselves that I think, having gone through especially COVID-19 last year, one of the things that we are now insisting businesses must look at is how well are they prepared should there be another, whatever challenge that comes in. It might not necessarily be an epidemic, it might not necessarily or be another pandemic, but you will go through challenges. So how are you as a business prepared to be able to manage that? So that's just an outlook in terms of what I will be talking about. And as I said, just to sort of start it off, I have just quoted one, or I think 2 lines from the president's speech last month. And he did mention that Kenya's economy grew by 0.3% during the 2020 period, despite the COVID. And by the second quarter of 2021, the real GDP had recorded a phenomenal 10.1% growth. Now, for those of us who are in sales, we don't really feel like this is exactly the true reflection on the ground, or as we like to say, kwa ground vitu ni tofauti. But I think it's important to look at what, we see that the government's analysis based on the data that they have, and of course, what the reality is for us on the ground. That is really important. But I guess to sort of just jump right in, let me start with the challenges that we have in the B2B selling. And most of us are very familiar with this. Number one of the things that I've noticed is poor customer retention or expansion. A lot of the businesses have this challenge that they are not doing enough to be able to retain the customers that they have. And of course, in any business, again, I like what Eunice said, regardless of what you're selling, one of your biggest pillars is the customers that you're already serving. We know, I think as a basic rule in any business school, that it's more expensive to get in new customers. In fact, some statistics do mention that it costs you up to about 7 times more. And so being able to retain the customers is one of the challenges that I think I've seen with many businesses. The second challenge on that particular note is the customer acquisition strategy, which often, as you see, tends to be lacking in most of the businesses. So when you ask, what exactly are we doing to be able to attract new customers? Do we have specific strategies? How are these strategies working? Are they being reviewed in terms of the impact that it's having? So how many new customers are we able to onboard? I think it's one of the challenges that I've seen. The second one is poor customer service and after sales. And again, this is very common in very many B2B businesses. Reason being, we've also seen that statistically, 86% of customers will stop doing business really in relation to poor customer service. When customers were asked why they stopped going somewhere or stopped buying from somewhere, they always linked it back to, I didn't like the way I was treated, or I felt that I was disregarded by the business. For me, I would say really, that's the importance of customer service. Of course, one of the things that we've seen, I think, as a result of COVID-19 especially, and the exponential growth of digital transformation is technological deficiency. A number of the businesses are still lag behind. Some are 5 years, 10 years. Some are even as far back as 20 years in terms of technology. Without technology, the only thing that you do to your business is that you increase inefficiency. And that's one of the things that you need to remember. So the beauty about being able to have or adopting technological advances is that you also start becoming more efficient in your business and the way you do your business. And when it comes to selling specifically, it makes it so much easier. I say those who are adopting technology to sell and those who are not is almost like day and night in terms of difference. The other challenge, of course, is the lack of continuous upskilling of staff. And I think we'll see later, if you don't have staff that are properly trained, regardless of how good your product is or how big your business is, you will not be able to excel. And unfortunately, no business is able to really get off the ground without the right staff that also focus on driving the objective. So poorly trained staff is a challenge. Lack of clear and continuous training also leads to, of course, poor service delivery, which then, of course, does bring in the other aspect of the business. Now, I must say, if you then come to B2C selling, and I'm sure most of us are familiar with this, when the business is directly reaching to the consumers, the challenges that I see or I've noted, and I think it's cuts across the different sectors, again, it's just the lack of understanding and exceeding of customer expectations. Of course, in this case, one of the unique outliers that I see with many businesses is that they don't take time to really sort of dissect. And I think I want to refer to what Eunice said. If you know or you understand your customers' challenges, and I remember her introduction about the Friday tea and meat, the way I look at it is that, you take an opportunity to understand your customers. And when you do that, you then make sure that the product that you're selling or the service that you're offering is really tailored to what the customers need. a successful business must be able to understand its customers. And I think we'll see in a couple of slides also that this is a very common challenge. The other one is poor customer service. I think I've said that this cuts across whether it's B2B or B2C selling. Again, it's a core pillar of any successful business. One other thing that is also a challenge in B2C selling is multi-channel marketing approach to reach customers. It was amazing to look at some of the statistics that we have seen, especially in 2021. You know, roughly about 10 million Kenyans are active on social media. And if you think about it, chances are your customers are actually reaching out on social media, and they may be contacted by your competitors. So if you're not there and somebody else is serving, of course, that particular niche, the fact that customers should be able to access you at any time, should be able to reach you, ease of access, whether it's by email, by phone, by WhatsApp, is another very important component that many businesses face when it comes to selling. And again, I'm just putting it in the context that no matter how good a product you have, in the end, if you're not being able to sell it to a customer, then you'll really face a number of challenges. So what are some of the opportunities? As I said earlier, one thing is you, of course, have to be competitive. We live in a world where you will find that you will not be the unique person in most cases with what you're offering. And so it's very clear that if you're not competitive, you'll not be able to sell. You have to be clear on the strengths and reason as to why you're the best choice, how you're leveraging on technology, how you're able to provide ease in terms of the customer's adoption of your product or your service. That's very important. And if you look at also the B2C, it's the same thing. Ensuring correct product service information, being able to reach customers, whether physically or digitally. And for me, very important is being able to delight customers. We talk about delight because it's not just enough to say my customers are happy. Are they delighted at the end of buying? So I think the beauty about selling, other than closing a sale, is often making sure that the customer is happy, because whatever they have bought, whether it's a service or a product, they have been motivated and they actually see the benefit of what you're selling. And I think that's also what Eunice was referring to. There's nothing as bad as having customers that end up buying something and they feel like they have been manipulated, because that sale is not going to be sustainable. And of course, it's the fastest way to lose customers. But obviously, if you also look at it from the context of COVID-19, what does it mean for us and future survival? It means that you need to reimagine your business. You know, look beyond what you're currently doing. And as I said, we'll talk about future-proofing the same. It's important to also look at new revenue streams, because that really is critical towards survival and being able to optimize on technology to increase efficiency. The opposite is very true. The more you delay on using technology to drive your sales, the chances are, of course, as I said, that your competitors will be far ahead of you. And that's really is important. But I want to narrow down on 2 or 3 things that I think are very critical in my experience and what we have learned, especially post-COVID, when it comes to selling. Number 1 is how well do you know your customers? If you look at statistics, 75% of businesses claim that they are customer-centric, but only 30% of customers agree. So the truth is, yes, we have a good product. We are really keen because we are excited about selling, but we don't take time to understand, is the product that we are offering tailored to what the customer's needs are? And if we know our customers well, whether it's, you know, through demographics, what they like to use, what they like to buy. For us, those of us who are in medicine, for example, whether you're in OTC or you're in chronic medication, in the end, it's the same customer. The preference of the customer is what you need to be able to know. Lack of that close understanding of the customer can cost you, again, your likelihood of succeeding in sales. The second point is, again, reach. And we did mention about this. That your customers can access the products or services. Again, we've seen with a number of the companies that we've worked with and some of the retail outlets that are in products, services, that customer loyalty programs are quite beneficial. And they is, of course, a very key benefit that you get. Number 1 is customer retention, increased customer satisfaction, gathering of insights. Again, just to go back to what Eunice was saying, if I was reaching out to customers and I realized that this is the kind of package that they want when it comes to this offering, I don't know, it could be on school fees or health, because I'm in health, I know how important it is to have a medical cover. But the moment you realize that customers are more interested in this, it allows you to also tweak and tailor your product. and ultimately you're able to have an increase in your revenue. So one of the things you could consider is, of course, if you have a product, is it something that is easy and can be delivered to the customers? Door to door, for example, some people are doing that. Can the customers be able to reach you if they need a product? And are there times that you are not reachable? And what options do they have? Do you have a loyalty program? Do you have special offerings that customers can be able to take advantage and save? Everybody nowadays is very conscious also about how they are able to save money. So it's not just about buying a product. And yes, I think one of the things I want to clarify, and I like that this statement summarizes, is that a satisfied customer is the best business strategy of all in the end, regardless of what you're selling. When you get that right, you're able to really take advantage. So keeping your customers in the loop is one of the things that is also important. A lot of businesses have so many good things that they are doing. And again, I just want to allude to what we were discussing a couple of minutes ago, but it doesn't help if it's only within the boardroom or within the offices that you have. So unless the person that you want to be aware about the product that you're selling or the service that you're offering is the customer. And the more they know about it, the more likely they're going to come and actually buy from you. Now, obviously, I know this is one of the things that we'll get to discuss, which is the most appropriate digital platforms. You need to be able to choose which is the best platform that you can be able to reach customers. Most people, as we've seen nowadays, are accessing the internet through mobile phone. More people are using apps than websites. A few years ago, you were well, and people considered that if you didn't have a website, there's a problem. Now it seems having a website is good, but having an app is better. And apps have a higher conversion rate to sales than websites. So there are more views on apps than websites. People are accessing more products, or at least looking or querying for more products on social media sites. So having these insights is also very critical because it allows you to have a platform that you can also be able to sell. Now, one of the things I was asked by somebody today is, what about if my product or my service really targets the bottom of the pyramid? How easy is it to sell? And I just want to give 4 quick points on this. Number one is, yes, there are local market opportunities within the base of the pyramid. And when you talk about the base of the pyramid, we're talking about, of course, more so the informal settlements. And a lot of businesses that have succeeded have done so by offering personalized services or products that can match or exceed, of course, those customers' expectations. Remember, even at the base of the pyramid, you also have customers that have certain needs, and those needs can really be met. Number two is cost is a factor, but you need to tailor to the wallet. Low income does not mean low price. Think high value, high trust for the customers. The other thing that you need to consider is customer service matters at the base of the pyramid. Customers at the base of the pyramid are also sensitive on service. And if there's a problem, it's important to also resolve it as soon as possible and let the customers know. Technology is also a key asset. I guess the best example is what we look at is on M-Pesa and how it's really able to transform businesses and is able to get on the opportunities. That is something that is also critical. So I think as I wrap up on my presentation, I just want to have maybe 2 or 3 slides. How do you accelerate opportunities? I think as we've seen, in terms of sales, build relationships. Customers are not looking for short-term relationships. They're looking for long-term relationships. In my experience in sales over the last 20 years or so, I see that the customers that you're able to have a long-term relationship are likely to continue buying from you. Exceed customer expectations. Don't just look at meeting the bare minimum. When they feel like you're really going out of your way to meet their needs, you're much more likely to have them coming, of course, to continue buying. And it's important to follow up. There was a very interesting study that was done in 2019 by a gentleman that was doing his PhD, and he looked at small and medium-sized enterprises and how they were succeeding in sales. And one of the things that stood out, this was actually done in Nairobi, was that the businesses that survived just put in mechanisms to be able to follow up with the customers post-sales. Many people make the mistake that once they have sold a product or a service to a customer, they don't make any effort to follow up. So what would you want to avoid in terms of pitfalls as we move forward? The customer has a need. That's very important to remember. Don't create a need that doesn't exist. Customers do not like to be manipulated. They like to be motivated. And when you're selling, it's important that you're linking the product or the service to the customer's need. That's what people tend to forget. Again, as I said earlier, ignore social media at your own risk. The truth of the matter is today, as we speak, there are 10 million Kenyans who are probably on Facebook, on WhatsApp, or Instagram, or on Twitter. So if you are not at the moment selling your product or your service, remember somebody else is selling. And that means you're missing out on an opportunity. And thirdly, in terms of our pitfalls, customers love businesses with impact. And this was interesting again. People are now becoming much more conscious that I want to buy from a place that is also impacting on the society. So I think, unlike before, it's not just enough to go for profits. What is the impact you're having on the society, on the community, on the environment? Customers are much more conscious and they feel more confident when they are buying from a place that they feel is also going to impact on the community. I want to finish with this slide. You have to future-proof your business. Learn to preempt the customer needs. Use data technology and expert advice to be able to tailor whether it's a product or a service. And I think I, again, want to allude to what Eunice had mentioned. The more you tailor the product, the more likely customers will come to you and shop. Number two, innovate. Innovate. That's very important because that way you can be able to also optimize and become aligned with what is really becoming a radical transformation globally. And of course, as I said earlier, it doesn't matter how good a product you have to invest also in your employee experience or the people that are actually driving your sales for you. If they're happy, trust me, the customers are likely to be happy. So future-proofing your business is about preparing for risks, both predicted and the unpredicted. And that, I think, would be my quick take-home message on the challenges and opportunities when it comes to sales. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Newton. Please, if you have any questions for our speaker, write them down in the chat box. We will address them in our Q&A session. Right now, I'd like to introduce Wangoi, who will give you a briefing on an event you're holding next year. Eunice had mentioned it a little bit, but Wangoi will go into detail. So Wangoi, welcome.
Again, hi guys. My name is Wangui Githu. I am the PR practitioner and events specialist at Bismart Insurance. Thank you, Newton Ciele, for that informative speech that you shared. That should boost us off to my part. So I'd like to share this document with you first as I begin. Okay. So I hope everyone can see what I'm doing. So I'd like to start. What is Salesfest? Salesfest is an event hosted by Bismart Insurance Agency aimed towards boosting sales within the corporate atmosphere. So this is the event that we plan on hosting next year. This is the event that we are planning to host next year on the 7th of January, and I will tell you more about it. So the pandemic having affected sales in almost all business sectors, prompted our CEO, Eunice Mainamboro, who you have met with just now, with a decade experience in the insurance industry, to create a forum where solutions can be discussed and applied. So 1 second. Sorry for that. I'm just having a technical problem. So as I was saying, the pandemic has affected a lot of our sales in different business sectors, and this prompted our CEO, Eunice, to come up with a forum where such solutions can be discussed and applied. In 2021, we hosted our premier event, our first Salesfest Africa, and it focused on sales within the insurance ecosystem, given that we as Bismart Insurance were the hosts. This proved that people needed and were interested to have such conversations as much was shared. So what makes Salesfest 2022 different? Why would we ask you from different spectrums of the corporate and even of just of the business world? Why would we want you there? What can this do for you? So this time we branch into cross-learning, as Eunice had mentioned, we branch into cross-learning within departments and amongst the corporate community. So when I say cross-learning within departments, I mean, how can the departments in an organization work together to promote and accelerate sales? How can the HR department work to accelerate sales, work with the sales department? How can the finance department work with the sales and marketing department? And amongst the corporate community, I mean, how can manufacturers work with the pharmaceutical industry to promote sales? How can automobile work with the manufacture industry to increase and accelerate their sales? And that's what we mean by cross-learning. That's what will be happening. There'll be all, we have guests from all spectrums of the corporate and the business world. So there'll be a lot of networking and a lot of learning, and that's what we mean by cross-learning. So we get to understand the dynamics of sales and how to enable its acceleration through allowing cross-learning inside and outside economic and market boundaries. So the theme this year is this extraordinary events theme that we'll be hosting is sales enablement, which will focus on sales effectiveness in the changing world and the future of post-pandemic sales. So what has been happening? Hello, can everyone hear me?
We had lost you for a second there, but now we can.
So, so I was talking about, sorry about that. I was talking about the theme. The theme for this extraordinary event that we'll be hosting come 2022 is sales enablement. How can you enable your sales? We will focus on sales effectiveness in the changing world and the future of post-pandemic sales. That brings us to talk about the hard conversations that have been neglected by many since COVID. How can we attack sales amidst the COVID times? Are we together so far?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I would like, as I am winding up, I'd like to take this opportunity to invite you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm sure this would be something that would help you boost your sales. So I'd like to take this opportunity to invite you and your colleagues, both here and all across Africa, to start your 2022 with a boost in your sales as you join us on January 7th in the coming year. So I want to share with you where you can connect with us. So please connect with us at salesfestafrica.com. Again, that is salesfestafrica.com. We will have these details on our chat box. Or you can call us at Bismart Insurance for further information. We look forward to having you and to starting 2022 with supercharged sales in our corporate sectors and all around the business world. In Kenya and all across the globe. I will share my contacts with you and our contacts for Salesfest Africa. They're on the screen as we speak. I hope you can see them. And please feel free to connect with us. We are a fun crowd. We are a motivated crowd. Talk to us and see how we can help each other boost sales. Thanks, guys. Over to you, Paris.
Thank you so much, Wangoi, for taking us through what to expect in the 2020 Salesfest Africa. 2022 Salesfest Africa. And if anyone has any questions regarding the event or regarding sales as a subject as a whole, please write on the chat box. We'll address them. Right now, we are getting into our Q&A session, where we will address the questions you may have. And these questions,
A quick one, Mary.
Yeah, go ahead, guys.
Sorry, just to interrupt. A quick one, team and all our visitors today. We are having a sale for the Salesfest tickets. This is for anyone who is at the webinar today and are willing to join us at the Salesfest Festival on 7th January 2022. The tickets currently are going for 8,500, but we have an offer for them to go at 7,500. This is until the 20th of December. Feel free to log on to the website and get your ticket. The website is shared on the chat box, and we will also still continue sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, Lois, for the reminder. So, as I was saying before, please guys, before I go on to the Q&A session, hop onto the offer we have till the 20th of December. This event will be, I think it will be a game changer for a lot of us who are in sales, that we can interact and learn from each other. So yeah, I'll go into the Q&A session, and these questions I will address to our speaker, to our speaker, Mr. Siele. So I see this comment on the chat box from Infinix Smart 2. He says that the next time he'd like us to talk about social media business, and that he or she has a phobia of it, and how one can start, say, advertising. Maybe our speaker or Eunice or our speaker can get into how to maximize make social media work for us as we do ourselves. So yes, I see Eunice is ready. She's even smiling. So Eunice, maybe you can address this social media and sales.
I don't think he asked a question because he's saying next time, which actually it's a good feedback, because what he's asking is we should tackle the question of social media business in the next webinar. So I mean, it's a big topic. We can't discuss it with the few minutes that we have. So thank you for the comment. So please take notes for our next meeting, that we need to discuss social media, online marketing, and all. But I also believe that in the Salesfest, that will be, tackled by different speakers. So the owner of Infinix Smart 2, please register for the Salesfest, and I'm sure your questions will be answered.
Okay, yes, Eunice, you are right. It wasn't a question, it was a suggestion for our next webinar. So yes, as Eunice has said, please get your tickets and come to the Salesfest. It's about the future of sales, and with the whole COVID thing, people had to use social media, so that will obviously be a big part of the topic. I'm sure we'll see. You'll only see when you come. So any other questions, you can raise your hand and we will address the question.
Paris it's not a question, it's still a comment from George Shiyuka. Kindly share the slides. I've benefited immensely for all presentations. Thank you very much, Phillips and your partners. Are you going to share the slides?
Yes,
Newton,
yes,
Mr. Newton.
Yes, you definitely will share the slides.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the slide will be shared.
Yes, the slide, and I'm sure on the chat box we've shared the YouTube link as well, but we will send you all the information from this webinar on your emails after the webinar soon. So I see a question from Paul Mooley. Is this webinar going to award us CPD points?
Good point, Paris. Maybe just to answer Paul. Paul, this webinar is run by Bismart, so it doesn't have CPD points. However, of course, I think the recording will be shared. There are other separate meetings that are within the CPD portal, and that can be shared to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Newton. Any other questions? You can raise your hand or write on the chat box if you have any question. And we will definitely share, as Newton has said, he will share the slides, and we will definitely, because we are recording it, we'll share the recording for the video. And we also streaming live on YouTube. So yeah. I see Kennedy Rotich saying thank you for these sessions and that he has learned a lot. I'm glad that you've learned a lot. We've all learned a lot. I'm sure we have. Any questions for our speakers?
Thank you, Paris. Derek had a poll for the participants. Maybe he can share it so that we can get their feedback from it.
Derek?
Yes. We had asked a simple question. What was your biggest challenge in 2021? The questions, the choices were staying financially afloat, meeting sales targets, employee relations, and choice 4, which I left deliberately unlabeled. 64% of the people who answered were staying financially afloat. 25% said meeting sales targets. 8% employee relations, and 3% chose choice 4, their named choice. So I would like to pose this as a question to our panelists. Since 64% chose staying financially afloat, what insights could you have to businesses? What different did you do what is it that you did in your organization, or should organizations do in challenging times such as this? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Derek. I'll go first. I'm not surprised, because even within our setup in the medical sector, we did a survey, I think last year, with the Pharmacy and Poison Sport, and it always consistently comes on the issue of cash flow and staying financially afloat. Now, again, if I was just to reference to the study I mentioned earlier, if you look at businesses that survived, especially the most difficult times, it's because they had a very prudent cash management. I think in a crisis, it means you even need to be more careful the way you are running your costs. And of course, for you to remain financially afloat, two things must continuously happen. You have to be selling so that you can be able to have cash flow. That cash flow should also be matched with a good profitability. So it becomes much more needed, I guess, to be very careful. So I'm not surprised at the answer at all. I think to me, it just goes back to, again, how you prudently manage your business, especially during a crisis. And you have to be careful, because if you're bleeding profitability, it means even if you're having cash flow, or for that matter, yes, you're getting customers and you're getting sales, but you are not working on your profitability, there's a risk that you may not be able to remain financially afloat. But the first point is that you must have consistent sales that are happening within your business.
Okay, thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Newton. Yeah, I think there's a mismatch, or rather, I think there's a problem, because 64% struggled to stay afloat financially, yet only 24% struggled with meeting sales targets. Could it be that then the sales targets were too low? Because if you have met sales targets, then you should not be struggling to stay financially afloat. So maybe it's a question of looking at the targets. Are they too low that they're not able to meet the financial, or rather, the requirements, the financial requirements for the business? Because if targets are high and they're being met, then there cannot be financial struggle. And so I think, just like Newton has said, it still narrows down to the sales. So either the targets must be too low if you're meeting them for you to struggle to stay afloat. If you're not meeting sales targets, then definitely you struggle. And so the conversation continues. How do you increase sales? And I'm happy to realize that everybody realized that without sales, you have no business, because you close shop. There's no other way of keeping a business going. So the customer is the most important person. And as Newton was sharing in his presentation, he talked of, looking at other opportunities. How can you maximize your revenues? Don't stick to, what you knew 2 years ago, because 2 years ago, is it 2 years? Yes. Since COVID happened, it's 2 years. 2 years ago, things changed. The cheese moved, and we're in a different dispensation. So if you find yourself still doing the business the same way you did it, same style, then somebody said that, insanity or madness is doing the same thing and expecting different results out of the same thing that you're doing. So I'm not calling anybody mad or insane. I'm just saying, check. If you've been doing business the same way all the time and you're expecting different results, there's a problem. You will need to see the doctor of sales, Newton, and myself, so that we can have a conversation. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Eunice and Newton, for that. I'd just like to add on to what Eunice has said. You need to be adversant with what's happening, what's in the now. And the best way I've realized to do that, to keep up with current affairs, is social media. Social media has really evolved, and people are taking into it now. People are embracing it, even with their sales, even with their advertisements. And for you to know what's happening in your field, and even in other fields that affect you, would be to watch the news, which might be redundant sometimes, and also keep up with social media. it might be hard, but you don't have to be outspoken. You don't have to be hard. You just need to read and know what's going on. Especially Twitter, I would advise people to hop onto Twitter and get news all over the world. Be ahead of your game. Don't chase. Don't always be chasing. Just aim to be ahead so that you can predict what is necessary and needed for your sales. Thank you.
Thank you, Angoi, for that. So as I'd like to address the other answers from the poll. I'm sorry, I don't have it here. Derek, you said that majority of them are saying it's because of financial trouble. What are the other issues that people said they were facing with sales?
Meeting sales targets at 25%, employee relations at 8%, and another choice which is unspecified at 3%. Perhaps they could help us by telling us exactly on the chat, exactly, or raising their hand, exactly what it is. Yes.
Yes. So what are the unspecified reasons why? Okay, please tell us on the chat so that we can talk about it. We'd like to know these reasons so that we can learn from them. If anyone else has a question or a comment, please feel free to ask. I actually have a question myself. I don't know what CPD points are. So maybe Newton could tell.
Yeah, CPD points, Paris, is actually that it's continuous professional development points. But for those of us who are in the medical industry, it's a requirement by the licensee. Yeah, you have to attend a certain number of meetings which are approved, and you get CPD points, which is what you also use when you're renewing your license for the year. It shows that you have been continuously learning. So they can't give you your practicing license without those CPD points.
Okay, thank you, Newton, for your answer. Okay, does anyone have a question so that we can address it right now and we can learn from this? I see that most of our participants are really thankful for the presentations, and they'd like us to share the presentation and also the recording, which we will send those details on email. Okay, I'd also like to just a reminder about the Salesfest 2022. It's on January 7th. We, as Wangoi said, that the tickets are currently 8,500, but we have an offer until until December the 20th, and they're going for 7,500, and it will be a really good learning session, and time we will learn from each other how different departments in organizations and different industries have been conducting sales in this changing world post-COVID, if I may say. So please buy your tickets so that you can all learn, yes, from each other. You can buy your ticket from www.salesfestafrica.com. I'd like to give the floor to if the speakers or anyone has anything to say or a question to ask. But if there are none, we can just conclude. Yeah, any questions?
None from my end, Paris.
Okay, thank you.
No questions from me.
Okay, so So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for coming and for taking the time to interact with us and have this session with us. Please follow us on social media, and so that if you have any questions, you can see what we do and we can see what you do. Let's interact even outside this session. I'd like to, because I can see there are no further questions or comments, I'd like to ask Derek to close with a word of prayer. So Derek.
Okay, thank you. Let's pray. God, we come before you, worshiping you and thanking you for the opportunity of life you've given to us. We thank you for the gift of knowledge that you have given to us, the gift of empowerment, so that we can continue learning and to serve you better and to serve humanity better. As we close our meeting, as we go back to our families, as we go to sleep, may you bless us and open our eyes to opportunities that you've given us. I pray this believing and trusting in Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I see Paul Mooley saying that you did not get answer. You did not get the, so I'm sorry, I just saw the comment. You did not get an answer to your question. Paul Mooley, is this regarding the CPD points? Oh, it's regarding the CPD points. Let me
I
not.
think Newton answered. He answered
Yeah.
and said it does not count because this is, the webinar is hosted by BSmart, but he said they will have another conversation. So Paul, this does not count, but I believe you learned a lot. You learned something.
Okay, so thank you, Paul. Thank you everyone for joining us, and have a lovely evening and the rest of it.